Now, he might hang up on us when I show this because it's from Mike Farron, MLB Network Radio, saying, very concerned the BBWAA will start voting on Star Wars awards with C. Trent as the new president of the BBWAA. Joining us on High Heat, C. Trent Rosecrans. Congratulations, and is this true? Are we going to vote not just on the Hall of Fame and on the awards, but also in the Star Wars categories now?
Well, it's possible, but Mike Farron will not, and we will never let him in, and that will be in the Constitution. That's my first act, to keep Mike Farron out, because, you know, we have to have some standards.
Thank you. Exactly. Mike, please, we don't want C. Trent hanging up on us, so thanks for sticking with us for 5 minutes because we need to talk Reds. And first off, let's try and do this together. We'll bring up some names that we've heard in Rumor City. Sonny Gray, Luis Castillo, Eugenio Suarez. Can we close the door on some of those players actually being dealt?
I think you can close the door on all of them being dealt. And I think it's a possibility of any of them getting dealt almost, just because I think the way Nick Kroll said it to me recently was it'd be foolish not to learn what the value of our players are. And you want to hear what some of those guys are. Sonny Gray is he's a valuable player. And that contract, when you look at some of the ones that are signed elsewhere, that's pretty affordable. And if you can get a lot of value in return, maybe you do it. And if you have a lot of confidence in what you can do as a staff and an organization and creating talent and getting your pitching coach and Derek Johnson and Caleb Cotham isn't there anymore, but you've invested a lot of money in the infrastructure and Kyle Bodie and all these other guys that they feel like they can take guys like TJ Antone and see what they've turned him into and produce pitchers. Now that's asking a lot based on this franchise's history and also the ballpark in which they play. But that's putting a lot of pressure on Derek Johnson and that crew. But if you believe you can do that and you can get the pitching and you can turn that into, you can get acceptable pitching and then turn that into young prospects and young cost-controlled prospects, maybe that's a way to do it.
I do see what you're saying. The player development side for the Reds right now looks really strong with Derek Johnson leading the pitching department. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the work that he did with the Brewers and now with the Cincinnati Reds. So with that being said, what do the Reds need? What are the goals in the offseason for this team? Whether they trade one of those big players or not, and I'm with you. I mean, I would say chances are low, but you want to check in with everyone. What does this team need to do to say, you know what, we are still up here in the National League Central. We made it to the playoffs. Let's stay in contention.
Maybe a run in the postseason.
That would be nice.
You can't get that you can't get those retroactively. That would be a start. But that's offense. And really, like, they're kind of, if you don't move an offensive piece, they're kind of set and stuck there, except for shortstop. What they need is an immediate shortstop. They really like Jose Garcia as a future piece, but he got kind of pushed up a little too quickly, they felt. And so maybe he's there long term, but you have someone in more immediate need. And sometimes maybe it's not a one-for-one thing, but you move guys like a Raisel Iglesias that you then have payroll that you can get a short-term solution like a Didi Gregorius, a Marcus Semien, an Andrelton Simmons, something like that.
So offensively, you could see them making a move like that. And also, I mean, you started it, so I'll go there too, right? When you don't score at all in the postseason. And I must say, I mean, and the pitching staff looked great with those three leading the way. Of course, Trevor Bauer's probably going to leave now. He's very expensive. But when you looked at the Reds from an offensive standpoint last year, you said, okay, I'm feeling better about this team. In fact, they probably sacrificed some defense with Moustakas and Castellanos to make up for offense, but it just didn't all come together. So why is that? Is that because Eugenio Suarez needs to hit more and he wasn't himself for one season finally and wasn't carrying the freight? What do you think the offense looks like and how do they perform next year?
You know, you kind of could go through a lot of that and see certain things holding them back. I think they really still do believe in Shogo Akiyama. And you look at the first half of Shogo Akiyama and then the second half. And the second half is really what they believe Shogo Akiyama is. The guy who just gets on base and sets the table, hits the ball. You want to talk about the layoff and the lack of spring training hurting someone. That's a guy coming over from Japan and trying to learn the league, and a player like that who works accounts and needs to know the pitching and kind of acclimating himself to this new added velocity that he's seeing. Nick Castellanos has always been a kind of a streaky player, and so maybe throughout the year he gets more streaks. Eugenio Suarez had that shoulder injury diving into a pool in February, and was he ever right where he was? Nick Senzel never quite got to where he should be when he was out on the injured list for so long and missed most of the season. And so there's all these little what ifs. Problem is we've seen that for the last couple of years, and what ifs. Can you keep banking on these what ifs to turn out? I think the offense, when you look at the personnel, it should be better than it is right now. But are you willing to bank on that?
I agree. On paper, it looks pretty nice. So we'll see what happens in 2021. A lot of work to do still this offseason, and there's tons of free agents available. C. Trent, thank you. Congratulations. And on being BBWAA president, but also all of the fun that goes along with it. And have a great holiday.
Thank you. You as well.